we were having a good conversation or somewhat of a debate on the Seahawks and how good they're going to be. And it sounds like you're going to jump ship, but like I'm going to stick it out. I think the Seahawks are going to be a very good team in the NFC. I think last year they really like put on the blueprint here. And and before I kind of I do like a comparison here, I'll brag about the Seahawks. Hopefully that's okay with people at House of Horns. But they had a very impactful rookie class a year ago. Rick Woolen, a couple of tackles that really contributed for them. Charles Cross, Lucas was the other one.
Abraham
uh,
Lucas.
Abraham Lucas and Kenneth Walker the third, obviously, and a couple other players too. So, that really set the tone for this year when they were going to be the afterthought. Remember, and everybody was saying, I said it, the Rams are going to be really good in the NFC West, and it was flipped, and it was the other way around. But the Rams, played the Seahawks pretty tough last year. But the thing this year, they don't have the Bobby Wagner. They do have Ernest Jones, and we'll see how he does. I'm excited to see that, by the way. And that's kind of fitting, right? Ernest Jones, finally getting his moment to be a starter, going up against a guy who I'm not gonna say hindered, but he made him wait one more year, Bobby Wagner, and he learned so much in that year. So I want to see if that kind of paid off for him. But going to the Seahawks this year, then they I think they had another very talented rookie class, and you get a Devin Witherspoon and a Jackson Smith and Jigba. I want to say Derek Hall was their other pick that they had. Zach Charbonnet was the running back. Hall was edge rusher. So that's four guys right there that make an impact. I know Devin Witherspoon might not play this week, and you have Witherspoon and Rick Woolen and a couple other guys in that secondary. That's going to be trouble when you don't have Cooper Cup. But I think I'm a believer in Geno Smith. I think that's a good offense there with DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. And I know their run defense was a problem a year ago, but they still made the wild card playoffs with that problem, and they added a is it yeah, Draymond Jones from the Broncos.
Jeremy
He's not the
Jones, yes,
he's
sir.
not the best run stopper, but he's a very good pass rusher. Jerron Reed's an older guy, but he was brought in to kind of help out. I don't know about that going back to like an older player, but the comparison I want to make is, a year ago, this is good for the Rams. A year ago, nobody counted on the Seahawks doing anything in this division or making the playoffs. Now the roles are reversed. That nobody's counting on the Rams to do anything. Some people are somewhat because they do have, Donald Cup and McVay and Stafford, but for the most part, everybody's counting out the Rams. Maybe they're going to tank for Caleb Williams. But now that's the beauty of football, right? Like it could be like you never know. You always bring it up, Vic. Like it could be 5 or 6 teams that surprise. And last year it was the Seahawks. So if you're a Rams fan and you're kind of feeling uneasy and you want some motivation, there you go. Motivation. Look
Yeah,
at the
there you go.
Seahawks from 2022 when everybody count them out. So, that's kind of the comparison I make. But to end on this long topic about the Seahawks, I like how they went back to back really great rookie class. I shouldn't say great for 2023 just yet, but on paper they look pretty good.
Yeah, and that takes me right to my point because, like as you mentioned, I asked this question when we on Compas on the Beat, and I said, "Are the Seahawks the third best team in the NFC during this offseason?" Just because of the rookie class that they another rookie class. My biggest, as and I've kind of gone away from it. I believed in the Seahawks. I like what they were doing, and I still do. I just have some questions, and I think part of it is, can they meet expectations, playoff expectations? We see teams who've been able to elevate, after making the playoffs, and we've seen people just fall. Now they have a really good coach in Pete Carroll who is going to motivate these guys. He's a 72-year-old who's out there throwing the ball to receivers. And so you have that. Like I said, I have questions here. Have just doing some research on the Seahawks, half of the rookie class already has been injured during this offseason. And so that's not something you want to see. You have, as you talked about, Devin Witherspoon with the hamstring, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's going to play, it sounds like, but he had wrist surgery. You have defensive tackle Cameron Young with the calf injury, Mike Morris with the shoulder. You have their center and a running back, Kenny McIntosh. So I mean, this is what happens when you're trying to make the playoffs again is you start having injuries, and that's one of the things you try to avoid. Another thing is, is there that depth on defense? And my biggest thing with the Seahawks, as I've kind of jumped off the train there, has been, or the bandwagon, I should say, has been. I still have concerns about their run defense, and I like the fact that they brought back Bobby Wagner. That's good, but we don't know what's going to happen with Jamal Adams. He's has been ruled out for this game against the Rams, which is good for the Rams. But as I said, I still have a lot of concerns with this team. I understand the expectations, and then you know, we always see this with some quarterbacks. Do they regress, or do they get better, or do they stay the same? And I we had a lot of questions about Geno Smith. They brought him back. We didn't know if he was going to be on this team, and now we don't know if it's if he's going to take the next step, or is he going to regress, Gilbert. So I just
Yeah.
want to get your thoughts on Geno Smith.
Yeah, that's like the tough part because like it's kind of like okay, so you finally did it for a year, can you do it again? And that's how the question marks is. And just actually reading some of my colleagues' work, Albert Breer, and he kind of put up a good point saying like he had a crappy hand with the Jets there, and then he just kind of, fell out of the, I guess, out of the picture because crappy Jets, and then they fire everybody, and then a new coaching staff comes in and a new GM. Oh, we didn't get you, and you get out of the picture, you get punched by a lot by a teammate, and you kind of do some soul searching, and then I actually got to cover him when he was with the Chargers, and he was a backup for Phillip Rivers, and goes to be a backup for Russell Wilson and too many times, like how many cases are out there of Geno Smith guys were like they weren't ready to play. It wasn't their time. They weren't mature, and they weren't putting in the work ethic. And then like maybe you get some time to pause, and you're still like maybe in your late 20s, you're still young and your prime, and oh, now you get an opportunity to kind of shine. And to the credit to the Seahawks, like honestly, I don't know what was happening to the Seahawks in their minds. Like, were they gonna tank and like, hey, let's go with a Geno, or they saw him every day in practice. Hey, this guy's ready. He's been working hard. So maybe not because he was competing with Drew Lock, but I kind of go back to like he's still young and watching some of those games, like this guy was slinging it, man. Like he had some great games where they were having some good shootouts, but he didn't play that well against the Rams though, so that could be a point there for the Rams because those are two very close games and it's funny because I think that team hit a rookie wall with all the young pieces because by the time
Yep.
they got to the Rams, the young guys were kind of fading, and I think Gino had to keep it together, and he was throwing some picks every now and then, and it wasn't his best, but maybe you're right, Vic, because they were kind of fading in the end. But I'm gonna say to answer your question, I do believe in Geno Smith. I think putting all those pieces together, well, okay, maybe he's finally getting his fair shake. He's making the most of it, seizing the opportunity, not making an excuse for what happened with the Jets there, and then being a backup. So I like him as a quarterback. Seeing him with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and now you have the rookie Jackson Smith and Jigba. I really like the offense, but you're right. That defense could be a problem. And then a lot of rookies again. And then also they're not even ready. And then Jamal Adams, who got traded for 2 first-round picks, not being ready. Their linebacker came through. I think Brooks. I'm blanked on the first name. Oh, Jordan Brooks. Because I actually spoke to Pete Carroll on my training camp tour. He's like, we gotta have our linebacker back. He's really good. So he made it back because he knows how bad the run defense was. So maybe I could agree saying that maybe they won't be a top 3 NFC team. I actually did pick them to be in the NFC championship game but that was when I was told to pick maybe a couple of weeks ago. I was hoping Devin Witherspoon will be healthy, but that's the thing too. Like you can't just look at the injuries right now. Like, it's a long season.
Yep.
Maybe he comes
It's a
back and he's
marathon.
healthy, but maybe you're right. Maybe they are more of a wild card again than maybe like a top 3 team.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with this team. Like as you said, they got to face the Rams towards the end of the season. Now they get them right off the bat, and we'll see how good this team is right off the bat if they meet expectations or not. I mean, they get the Rams at home. And so we'll see if they're ready for prime time, as a lot of people like to say when you have so many expectations